Hey everyone. Thanks for joining the Unveiled family. We're almost halfway to our goal, and it's all thanks to you. If you haven't yet, please smash that subscribe button so that we can hit 1,000 subs together. Let's do this. This happened a couple of years ago. I hadn't really told anyone the full thing until recently, and honestly, I still don't know how to explain parts of it without sounding crazy. But I remember everything. Every second. I think that's what makes it worse. I met Justin on a dating app. Nothing sketchy, just one of the usual ones everyone uses. He was normal enough. Cute, kind of quiet, but in a calm way. I liked that he didn't try too hard. We went on a couple of dates, mostly to coffee shops and little restaurants. He never rushed anything. He wasn't overly flirty or pushy. He just seemed chill. Kind of boring maybe, but at the time that felt like a good thing, like safe. He started texting me more often, but not in a weird way. Just casual stuff, checking in, sending me songs or funny posts. After about 3 weeks, he invited me to a party at a friend's house. Said it was low-key, just a few people, good music, drinks, nothing wild. I almost didn't go because I was tired, but I figured it'd be good to get out and meet some of the people he hangs around with. I wanted to see more of who he was outside our little dates. The party was at this house on the edge of the city, in this half-built neighborhood. One of those newer developments where the houses all look the same, and the roads still have construction signs on them. When I got there, the street was dark and totally quiet. No cars, no lights. I double-checked the address twice. It felt weird, but the porch light was on and Justin texted saying he was inside. So I went in. The front door was unlocked. When I stepped inside, it was quiet. Way too quiet for a party. No music, no talking. Just this low hum, like from an air conditioner or something. I called out his name, but no answer. I was standing in this dimly lit hallway, kind of narrow, with one overhead light flickering. I thought maybe I got the wrong house, but then I saw him, Justin, standing at the end of the hallway, just watching me. He didn't wave or say anything, just stared. I remember laughing awkwardly and saying something like, "You scared?" Me, but he still didn't respond. He just turned and walked through a door to the right. I followed him, trying not to act uncomfortable. That's when I saw them. The room opened up into this big living room. Kind of empty except for a couch, a few folding chairs, and maybe 10 or 11 guys standing around. No girls. Not one. They weren't talking or holding drinks. They weren't laughing or doing anything normal. They were all just standing there, spaced out around the room, staring at me. Silent. I froze in the doorway. The air felt heavy. I kept looking around, waiting for someone to break the tension, but no one did. Not even Justin. He just stood by the couch, not looking at me anymore, just looking down like he was waiting for something. I remember asking, "Where is everyone?" and trying to force a smile, but my voice came out weird. The kind of voice you use when your body already knows something's wrong, even if your brain hasn't caught up yet. Nobody answered. I turned to leave. I didn't care how rude it looked. I was done. But when I reached the hallway, the front door was closed. I tried the handle locked. I didn't even hear it lock. I spun around, heart racing, and saw 2 of the guys standing behind me now, blocking the hallway. I hadn't even heard them move. I backed up. I tried not to cry or show how scared I was. I asked where the bathroom was, just to get some space. One of them pointed toward the stairs without saying a word. I took the stairs fast, trying to breathe. Upstairs was dark, completely. The hallway had no lights, and I could barely see anything, but I moved fast anyway. I picked the first door I felt and ducked inside. It was a bedroom, empty. No bed, No furniture, just carpet and bare walls. But the window was open. That saved me. I didn't even think. I went straight for it, shoved the screen out, and climbed out. I scraped my arm on the window frame, but I didn't care. I dropped into some bushes and ran. I ran barefoot down the street because I'd left my shoes at the door. I didn't stop until I got back to my car, which I'd parked a couple of blocks away. I was shaking so hard I could barely unlock the door. When I got in, I locked all the doors and sat there in total silence for a minute, trying to understand what had just happened. I didn't call the cops. I know I should have. I didn't tell anyone for weeks. I blocked Justin on everything that night, deleted the app, changed my number a few days later. I still don't know what that was. There were no sounds in that house. No music, no laughter, no life. Just those men, staring, watching, not saying a word. And Justin, ... He wasn't the same guy that night. His eyes looked empty, like he wasn't really there anymore. Like someone had turned him off. I kept checking the news for a while after, looking for reports about a weird party or something worse, but nothing ever came up. It was like that house didn't exist. Sometimes I wonder how many girls said yes to that invite and didn't get lucky like I did. How many of them stayed downstairs, or didn't notice the window. But mostly, I just try not to think about it. I never went on another app again. I don't even like answering texts from numbers I don't know anymore. It sounds dramatic, but once you see something like that, something so quiet and wrong, it doesn't ever really leave you. I should have known something was off the second she showed up with the squirrel. That was the first gift. I'd only been seeing Angela for about 2 weeks at that point. We met through some mutuals at a game night. She was a little odd, sure, but not in a bad way. She had that kind of spaced out vibe, always looking like she was thinking about something else. But she was funny, dry humor. We clicked pretty fast. At first, things were fine. She was super into the outdoors, talked about hiking and trees more than most people I know. She had a cabin an hour outside the city that she claimed she took care of, but I never got the full story. I thought it was her family's or something. She'd vanish up there every weekend and come back smelling like cedar wood and fire smoke. Then came the squirrel. She just brought it to my apartment in this old cardboard box like it was normal. Said it was a gift, and smiled at me like she was giving me something thoughtful. It was alive, barely. Its leg was injured or something, twitching around. Like it didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what to say. I thought it was a joke. I laughed. She DN'd single quotes. She told me she found it while wandering and thought I'd appreciate it. I asked if she meant appreciate it, as in help it, or keep it. She just shrugged and said it was a sign of trust. That was the first time I felt weird about her. Not scared. Just unsettled. But I didn't want to be rude. I took the squirrel, dropped it off at a wildlife rehab place the next day, and didn't mention it again. Then came the bird. A blackbird, totally intact but dead this time. In a small cloth bag. She gave it to me at my work. Literally walked into the lobby while I was on lunch and handed it over like it was a sandwich or something. Told me not to open it until I was alone. That one, I didn't even touch. I tossed the whole bag in the dumpster. Later that night, she asked if I saw the message in its wings. I had no clue what she meant, and I was too uncomfortable to ask. I just told her it was intense, and asked her not to do that again. She nodded, but didn't apologize. You'd think I'd break it off then. I almost did. I actually texted her a breakup message but deleted it before I sent it. It's hard to explain, but she wasn't always like that. Sometimes we'd just watch movies or eat noodles on the floor and she'd be completely normal. She had this soft, calm way of talking that made things feel okay, even when they weren't. I kept convincing myself she was just quirky, artistic, that maybe I didn't get her yet. The rabbit was the one that really pushed me. She left it in my car. I found it in the back seat after leaving a grocery store. It was alive, eyes wide, scratching at the window like it had been in there for hours. I had no clue how she even got into my car. I called her, and all she said was, "He chose you." After that, I stopped replying to her for a while. A week or so of silence. I thought maybe if I gave her some space, she'd move on. It wasn't worth a confrontation. I figured it'd fizzle out, but she showed up again, at my apartment, with the lizard. I don't know what kind it was, but it was big. Bigger than anything that should have been inside a plastic tote. Its tail was as long as my forearm. It had this flat head and slow blinking eyes, and it made this low, throaty sound. When she shifted the box, she just stood in my doorway holding it, calm as anything. Like this was some kind of peace offering. She said something about how it had been following her for days, and how it was meant for me. That it was a gift of protection, that they wouldn't come near me with it watching. I didn't ask who they were. I just stood there, stunned. She stepped forward like she was about to bring it in, and I instinctively blocked the door with my arm. That's when her expression changed. Her face didn't go angry, just blank. Like someone turning off a screen. She stared at me for a full 10 seconds, then slowly placed the tote on the ground right outside the door, turned, and walked down the hallway without saying anything. I locked the door, stood there for a while listening. I never heard her leave the building. I didn't open the box. I waited until midnight, then took it with gloves, and drove 20 minutes to a park, and left it by a trailhead. I don't know what happened to it. I don't want to know. It was gone the next day when I checked, but there were weird marks in the dirt around where I left it, like claw scrapes in a dragged shape. I didn't hang around to investigate. I blocked her on everything, changed the locks. Told my landlord she wasn't allowed in under any reason. I never reported it, because technically, she hadn't done anything illegal. But I started getting these weird letters in the mail. No return address. No writing on the outside. Inside, there'd be a single feather. Or a pressed flower. Or a drawing charcoal sketches of birds or trees with holes in them. One of them was a deer's head with human teeth, that went on for about 3 months. Then it stopped. I haven't seen her since. Haven't heard from her. Sometimes I wonder if she moved on to someone else, or if she's out there in those woods, collecting more gifts for someone new. There's still a part of me that wonders what would have happened if I let her in with that lizard. What it was really for. Who they were. But mostly, I just don't open strange mail anymore. And I never, ever date anyone who mentions they have a cabin. I dated Thomas for 9 months, and honestly, it still feels weird saying that out loud. It wasn't the kind of breakup where you're just sad for a while and move on. It messed with my sense of reality. The whole thing felt like a weird, drawn-out social experiment I didn't agree to be part of. We met the normal way, through a mutual friend at some backyard thing. He seemed normal enough. Cute, well-dressed, polite. He wasn't overly charming, which I liked, because I usually don't trust people who try too hard. We clicked in that kind of soft way where nothing feels intense, but everything feels easy. He was good at listening. That was probably the trap. Things were slow at first. We'd hang out maybe once a week, watch a movie, order takeout. He had this apartment in an older building that had a lot of character, tall windows, creaky floors, weird little hallway corners. It felt lived in. He said he'd been there for a while, but didn't like to talk much about his job. He told me he freelanced and sometimes worked in tech, but wasn't consistent. I figured he was just trying to figure things out. About 2 months in, he mentioned rent, for the first time. He said things had been tight that month. Something about a client not paying on time. Asked if I could spot him $400 and he'd pay me back. I hesitated, but he didn't pressure me. He just said it would help, and he totally understood if I couldn't. I gave it to him, and he thanked me like it genuinely meant a lot. Then it became a pattern. Every month, some version of the same story. Invoice delays, contract issues, unexpected bills. It never felt aggressive. It was always wrapped in this low-key tone, like he hated asking but had no other option. I felt bad for him. He didn't drive a fancy car, didn't wear expensive clothes, didn't go out much. He looked like someone struggling. So I helped when I could. Sometimes $200, sometimes $600. I kept track at first, then I stopped, which was stupid. The weirdest part was, nothing else in the relationship felt off. He never acted controlling or cold. He'd bring me coffee in the mornings. He'd remember small things I said in passing. We had our routines. Everything felt real. That's what made it so strange later, when it all unraveled. Around month 7, I noticed something strange. We were walking back to his place from the corner store, and I saw someone taking pictures across the street. Not at us specifically, but of the building. I asked if he knew what was going on, and he said it was probably some real estate company trying to buy out the landlord. That answer felt weirdly rehearsed. I also started noticing that his fridge was always full. Like, not just a few groceries here and there. I mean expensive stuff. Imported drinks, cheeses, prepped meals in little glass containers with labels. I asked once if he got a delivery service, and he kind of brushed it off like it was from a friend who worked in food. I didn't press it. Then came the worst part. One afternoon, I stopped by unannounced. He'd left his front door slightly open, like maybe he ran down to grab something. I didn't want to creep around, but I called out his name and walked in. He wasn't there. I saw his laptop on the counter, open. I wasn't trying to snoop, I really wasn't, but the screen caught my eye. It was a financial dashboard, some investment account. The numbers were huge. I saw a balance that had 2 commas in it. Like high 6 figures. I froze. I didn't even know what I was looking at for a second. There were multiple tabs open, all related to different accounts, real estate stuff, some travel bookings, and a document titled something like loyalty notes. I didn't open it. I backed away, sat on his couch, and waited. When he came back, he acted totally normal. Smiled, kissed me on the forehead, asked if I wanted tea. I said I wasn't feeling well and left. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about it. Who was this guy? Why was he lying? The money I gave him, was it just going into his savings while he played broke? What was he doing with it? A couple days later, I confronted him. I didn't yell or accuse. I just asked him what I'd seen. The money, the notes. He paused, sat down like he'd been waiting for that moment. And then he said something that honestly still makes my skin crawl. He said he was testing me, that he wanted to see if I was loyal, if I would stick by him when things seemed hard, that people only show their real character when money's involved. He said I passed and that now he knew I was different, special. I didn't say anything. I just stared at him. It felt like I wasn't even in my own body. He actually smiled. Like this was some grand reveal and I was supposed to feel proud. He said he was planning to tell me eventually, that he had big plans and wanted someone who could be trusted with real things. I left quietly. I didn't even slam the door. I just walked out. Blocked him on everything later that night. No big fight, no dramatic text, just silence. I don't know if he's done that to other women. I wouldn't be surprised. He didn't seem sorry, just impressed with himself. What creeps me out the most isn't the money. It's the fact that he watched me worry about rent, skip dinners out, and take side gigs, all while sitting on a pile of wealth, just to see how I'd react. Like I was some kind of lab rat, in his personal loyalty experiment. I still think about it sometimes. Not because I miss him, I don't, but because I wonder how many people like him are out there, running little games on the people who care about them, smiling the whole time. That's what keeps me up at night. I met Ariana through a friend at a birthday thing last summer. She wasn't loud or attention-seeking, honestly. She seemed kind of quiet at first, but she was funny in a dry way. Smart, had this look in her eyes like she was always thinking, something slightly chaotic. We started talking that night and never really stopped. Things moved pretty fast. By the end of the second week, we were hanging out constantly. I didn't think much of it at the time. I liked being around her, and she always made time for me. At first it felt nice, like I finally had someone who actually wanted to know everything about me, not just the highlight reel. She'd ask a million questions. From how I liked my coffee to weird things like which class I hated most in school and whether I'd ever had a near-death moment. She paid attention. Too much attention, maybe, but I wasn't seeing it clearly yet. By the second month, things started feeling a little off. She'd text constantly. Not just good morning or good night, but updates every 10 minutes, asking where I was, who I was with, what I was doing. If I didn't respond fast enough, I'd get 3 or 4 follow-ups in a row. I'd wake up to paragraphs if I fell asleep without saying goodnight. It was like dating a private investigator who also thought I was cheating 24/7. I started pulling back a little, not ghosting her, just trying to get some breathing room. I stopped replying to every single message right away. That's when she started posting little things online, passive stuff, song lyrics about betrayal, Instagram stories that were clearly about me but not saying my name. One time she posted a photo of a text thread where she'd asked, "Why do people say they care and still disappear," with a timestamp of like 11:46 p.m., which just so happened to be the exact time I'd said I was going to bed the night before. I let that slide too. It wasn't until she showed up, uninvited, to a group thing, that I realized I needed to end it. I had told her I needed a night with just my friends. No drama, no stress. We were at a bonfire, super chill, and suddenly she just appeared. No message, no warning, just standing behind me with that look like I'd betrayed her. She didn't even say hi to anyone, just pulled me aside and started crying, asking why I didn't want her there. The whole thing was awkward and weird and kind of embarrassing. The next morning, I told her I couldn't do it anymore. That's when it got bad. The first thing she did was block me. Not just on text, everywhere. Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, even Venmo, which I was actually relieved about for about 12 hours. Until I started getting messages from random accounts I didn't recognize. People I'd never met messaging me things like, "You disgust me, and how could you do that to her?" Turns out, she posted about me, publicly, on her story. On TikTok. Probably in her group chats too. She said I manipulated her, said I led her on, love bombed her, then discarded her. She said I used her, ghosted her, and spread rumors about her to mute. None of it was true, like literally none of it, but the posts were vague enough that they gave her just enough room to deny it if anyone questioned her. And the worst part, people believed her. Not everyone, but enough. I started getting cold shoulders from people who used to be friendly. People I barely knew suddenly had opinions about me. I even got a message from a girl I went to school with, saying she wasn't surprised and saw this coming. Like, from what? She had this following too. Nothing huge, but a decent-sized group of online people who treated her like she was their older sister. She talked a lot about mental health and protecting your peace. So when she painted me as some toxic guy, her followers went all in. I couldn't even defend myself, because if I said anything, it would just look like I was guilty. She started making these cryptic videos to talking straight to the camera, crying, saying how the worst pain is when someone pretends to care. In the comments, people would just pile on, call me names, say I deserved worse. I wasn't even tagged, but it didn't matter. The ones who knew me knew it was about me. I tried to ignore it, but it got under my skin. Not just the lies, but how calm she looked while doing it, like she had rehearsed it all. Like the whole relationship had just been part of a bigger plan to build her next story arc. It felt like I was dating someone who saw life in content, not moments, and I was just her latest villain. A few weeks later, I heard from someone close to her that she had done something similar before. Different guy, same playbook. Intense relationship, sudden breakup, then a flood of online sympathy. She even sold shirts one time with a quote about healing from emotional damage. I don't think I've ever felt so violated. Not physically, but mentally. Like my name, my face, my texts, all of it had been turned into a prop in some story I didn't agree to be part of. It wasn't just annoying or dramatic. It was disturbing. Because she was too good at it. Too calm, too rehearsed. She knew exactly how to cry without messing up her makeup. She knew the right phrases, the right lighting, how to turn real life into something that looked like pain, but really wasn't. It was something else. Performance, maybe. Or obsession. I've stopped posting online for now. Deleted a few old accounts. Changed my number. I'm not scared of her. Not in the physical sense. But I don't trust what she's capable of doing with a keyboard. And a camera. You can't argue with someone like that. They're not looking for resolution. They're looking for material. And the scariest part, she probably thinks she's the one who got hurt. I should have trusted my gut when Ben said he wanted me to meet his family after just 2 dates. I remember blinking at my phone, thinking, is he serious? I'd barely learned his middle name, and now he wanted me to go to his mom's house for dinner like we were celebrating a wedding anniversary or something. But I figured maybe it was just how he was raised, super close to his family. Maybe the kind of people who host game nights and ask deep questions at the dinner table. I told myself to be open-minded. That was my first mistake. Our first date had been totally normal. We got drinks at this small place near his work, talked for a couple hours, and he walked me to my car. The second time, we met up at a park, sat on a bench, and just talked about random stuff. He wasn't pushy or weird. If anything, he was kind of reserved. Not awkward, just a little intense. He made a lot of eye contact, asked a lot of questions, and said things like, "You seem different." That should have been another flag. So I agreed to go. I even picked out something I thought looked nice, but not too much. A navy sweater, jeans, boots. Nothing flashy, just comfortable. He said his family was casual, no pressure. He picked me up around 5, and I could tell he was excited. Kept saying how his mom was going to love me, how his sister always judges but it's just her thing. I laughed it off. When we pulled up to the house, it was already kind of tense. The neighborhood was weirdly quiet. The house itself looked nice but cold, super clean, like no one actually lived there. Inside, his mom greeted us with this polite but blank kind of smile. Like a teacher who's done with her job but still pretending. His dad barely looked up from his phone. The sister gave me a once-over, and then whispered something to her mom. Ben acted like none of it happened. Dinner was where it all got weird. At first it was small talk. They asked where I was from, what I did for work, that kind of stuff. But then the tone shifted. His sister asked if I did my own makeup. I said, yeah, and she just nodded and said, that's brave. His mom asked if I planned to keep my hair that color, like it was some kind of temporary issue she was hoping would pass. I tried to laugh it off, assuming they were just dry or sarcastic. But it didn't stop. They made jokes all throughout dinner. His dad asked if I was allergic to carbs when I barely touched the bread. His sister said something about my boots being bold for someone with short legs. His mom told me she liked my sweater because it hid everything in the right places. I sat there, smiling like an idiot, wondering if I was the only one who noticed how mean it all was. Ben didn't say a word. He just ate. Every now and then he'd glance at me with this weird smirk, like he was waiting to see how I'd react. It felt like a test. Or worse, like he was proud of them. Like this was his family's way of vetting people, and if I passed by staying quiet, I was in. I started feeling sick halfway through. Not even from the food, just the way I felt sitting there, surrounded by people who clearly didn't like me but acted like they were being funny. After dinner, we sat in the living room for a bit. His sister turned on the TV but kept talking loudly about influencers who try too hard and post every outfit like they invented fashion. I don't even post like that, but the way she said it while looking directly at me was so obviously pointed. I looked at Ben, and he didn't even blink. Just scrolled on his phone like nothing was going on. Eventually I told him I had to work early and needed to go. He offered to drive me back, and I honestly considered calling a rideshare just to avoid more time with him, but I didn't want to make a scene. The ride home was silent. No music, no small talk. He walked me to the door and tried to act like nothing happened. I told him I'd talk to him later and shut the door behind me. That night, I sat in bed trying to process it. I kept thinking maybe I was being too sensitive. Maybe they were just joking in a way I wasn't used to. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that. I've met a lot of families. I've had awkward dinners, uncomfortable silences. But this wasn't awkward, it was cruel. And he didn't just let it happen. He brought me into it. He asked me to come knowing they were like that. He let them pick at me while he sat there smiling. Over the next couple of days, he texted like normal, said he had fun, asked if I wanted to come over the following weekend. I ignored him. He followed up again. I finally told him I wasn't interested, that the dinner made me uncomfortable and I didn't want to keep seeing someone who thought that was okay. He didn't reply, but then, a week later, he unfollowed me and made his account private. I heard from a friend that he'd told people. I was too sensitive and couldn't handle being around his strong-willed family. I didn't bother responding. What was I supposed to say? That his mom thinks subtle insults are charming? That his sister uses backhanded compliments? Like it's a sport? No thanks. The whole thing still messes with me sometimes. Not because I liked him that much, but because it was such a weird trap. I went in expecting dinner. Instead, I got dissected by a group of strangers while the guy I was dating sat there and watched. I think that was the part that stuck with me most. Not the jokes, the silence. You ever have one of those moments where you feel your brain hit a wall? Not physically, but like everything inside you just kind of freezes. That's what happened to me the night I walked into my own apartment and saw Hannah sitting way too close to my best friend on the couch, wearing the hoodie. I gave her an acting like she didn't even hear the door open. Let me backtrack for a second. Hannah and I met through mutuals. Kind of a random connection that turned into texting every day, then hanging out, then dating. She had this calm vibe about her, soft voice. Never really the loudest in the room, but always knew how to get attention without trying too hard. She was sarcastic in a low-key way, wore a lot of oversized clothes, never smiled too wide. I liked that she didn't try too hard. Or at least, I thought that was what it was. We'd been dating for around 3 months when things started feeling off. Not dramatically off, just small things, like she wouldn't want to hang out if certain people were going to be around. Or she'd act weird about her phone, like always turning it face down. One time I asked her what she thought of my best friend, Eli, and she laughed and said he gave her the ick. She straight up called him weird looking. I didn't think much of it at the time, Figured she was just being honest, so I never expected what actually happened. It was a Saturday night. I'd told both Hannah and Eli that I was going out with my cousin to this late screening of some dumb horror movie. Plans changed last minute, and I ended up not going. I figured I'd just head home, maybe play something on my laptop, chill. I didn't even tell anyone I was coming back. No warning. When I walked in, it was dead quiet. Lights were off, except the glow from the TV. My first thought was that maybe someone had broken in. Stupid, I know. But as I stepped further in, I saw two people on the couch. Hannah was practically curled up on Eli's side, legs stretched across his lap, and he was holding her ankle, like they were mid-conversation, mid-whatever. Like this wasn't the first time. It took a second before either of them noticed me. When they did, they froze. She tried to move like she was just stretching or something, like it was casual. Eli looked like someone had just unplugged his brain. No one said anything. I didn't either. I just stared. I wasn't mad in the way people expect, yelling or breaking something. It was worse. I felt completely blank. I walked into my own place and saw the two people I trusted most, not just together, but looking totally comfortable about it. Like it had already happened before. Like I was the last one to get the memo after that night. I didn't really talk to either of them. Hannah texted a few times. Apologies mixed with excuses. She said it wasn't what it looked like, said I was being dramatic, said I was overreacting, that they were just talking. Then she stopped texting altogether. She blocked me on most stuff before I could even respond. Like she wanted control of the story before I could tell anyone. Eli didn't even bother. No message, no explanation. He just disappeared. Mutuals told me later that they'd been talking for a while. Secret meets, snaps that were instantly deleted. A few people knew and didn't say anything because they didn't want to get involved. I started putting things together after that. Times she flaked on me last minute, said she was tired or busy. Times Eli said he couldn't hang out, then posted something totally different on his story. I started seeing patterns I hadn't noticed. Or maybe I didn't want to notice. What messed me up the most wasn't even the cheating. It was that she lied about him. Over and over, like she went out of her way to make him seem like the last person she'd ever be into. And I believed her. I defended her when Eli once joked that she didn't like him. I even told him, don't take it personally, she's just kind of blunt. Looking back now, I think that was part of the plan. She said he was unattractive, just to throw me off the scent. She made him sound like the least likely person, when really, he was probably the one she wanted all along. And the worst part, he knew that. He let her say those things and still kept talking to her behind my back. It wasn't just betrayal. It was calculated. I had to unfollow a bunch of people after that. Not even out of anger, just because I couldn't. Look at mutual friends who were still commenting on her photos like nothing happened. I deleted a bunch of old pictures, stopped going to the places we used to hang out, changed my routine without meaning to. I didn't want pity. I didn't even want closure. I just wanted to not think about them. But for a while, they were everywhere. Together, not hiding it anymore. And the worst part was, no one seemed that surprised. That's the thing about betrayal like that, it's never loud. It doesn't come with alarms. It sneaks up slowly, one ignored gut feeling at a time. Until one day you walk into your apartment, and everything's just ... flipped. I don't miss Hannah, not even a little. But sometimes, I think about how confidently she lied. How easily she looked me in the face, said Eli wasn't her type, and then went straight to him when I wasn't around. That's what really gets me. How some people can fake love so well, it makes you feel stupid for ever believing them in the first place. That couch isn't even there anymore. I got rid of it, not because of them. But yeah, kind of, because of them. It just felt off. like something permanent had happened there, and I didn't want to sit in it anymore. You don't forget stuff like that. You just stop reacting to it. I never thought a few dates with some random guy would turn into something that felt like a low-key nightmare. I mean, you go on dates hoping to meet someone cool, or at least normal, right? But Spencer. He started out normal, enough kind of quiet. A little awkward, but with each time I saw him, he got weirder, like he was slowly turning into someone else, someone obsessed. It wasn't like the movies where you get a bad vibe immediately. No. It was more like a slow creep, one small thing at a time. Until suddenly I was stuck in this strange mess, and didn't know how to get out. So, here's how it went down. The first date was fine. We met at this coffee shop near my apartment. He was polite, a little nervous maybe, but not in a bad way. We talked about usual stuff, favorite music, dumb movies, that kind of thing. I thought, okay, not bad. I even smiled a bit, which is rare for me on first dates. When he walked me to my car, he asked if I wanted to see him again. I said sure, figuring, why not? The second date was at this small diner across town. He was a little more talkative, but also kind of started joking around, teasing me in this weird way. Like, not the playful teasing you expect when you're getting to know someone, but more like he was trying to get under my skin on purpose. He made these small comments about how I dressed, like that jacket looks kind of cheap, or are you always this shy? I laughed it off because I thought maybe that was his version of flirting. I didn't want to be that person who takes everything seriously. But after that, things started to change. By the third date, I noticed he was showing up unannounced sometimes, like he'd just be outside my window or texting me nonstop during the day. Not cute, not I really like you kind of thing. More like, I'm watching you. He would send weird messages about what I was doing, even though I hadn't told him. Like, how did he know I stopped at that grocery store, or when I went to the gym? It was creepy, but every time I brought it up, he'd say he just had a good memory or was paying attention. Then there was the teasing, but it got way more intense. Instead of little comments, he'd try to put me down in front of other people. Like making fun of the way I laughed, or the way I ate. At first, I thought maybe he was just awkward, like he didn't know how to talk to me in a group. But it felt different. It felt like he wanted me to feel small, to be unsure of myself. I started canceling dates. I wasn't excited anymore. I felt trapped when I was with him, and my friends noticed it too. They told me I should be careful, but I didn't want to hear it. I thought I could handle it, or that maybe he'd chill out. He did in single quotes. It got worse. He would show up at places I said I'd be, even when I didn't want him there. Like, one time I told him I was meeting friends at this small bar downtown, just a casual thing. He wasn't invited, but there he was, sitting at the other end of the bar, watching me like it was some kind of game. When I left early, he followed me and said he just wanted to make sure I was safe. But it didn't feel safe. It felt controlling after about 6 dates, I finally broke it off. I told him it wasn't working, that I didn't want to see him anymore. He acted like nothing happened at first, but then the messages started again. More intense, more desperate. And after a few days, it switched from messages to actions. I woke up one morning to get ready for a huge event, this thing I'd been looking forward to for weeks. I was supposed to present a project I'd worked hard on. I needed to get there early, set up, and meet people. I went outside, hopped in my car, and started to pull out of the driveway when I heard this awful hissing noise. I stopped and looked down at my tires. All 4 were completely flat. I didn't even want to believe it at first. I thought maybe I just had bad luck, some kind of freak accident overnight. But then I remembered all the weird things Spencer had been doing, and it hit me. He'd done this. He had taken the air out of my tires on purpose. There was no way I could drive anywhere. I was stuck. I called a cab service, but with the traffic and timing, there was no way I'd make it to the event on time. I called a couple friends, hoping someone could help, but no one was free. I sat there in my car, feeling this heavy mix of anger and helplessness. It was like this stupid thing, flat tires, was a physical symbol of how much control he still had over me, even after I tried to end it. When I finally got out of the car, a neighbor was walking by, giving me a weird look. I told them what happened, and they said they'd keep an eye out. But honestly, I felt paranoid every time I left my place after that. I changed my locks, got a security camera, started taking different routes just in case. Spencer kept messaging for a while, trying to get me to talk. When that didn't work, he tried showing up at my building, but I started avoiding the lobby and using side entrances. I never reported him to the police. I guess I was too embarrassed, or maybe I didn't think they'd do much. And honestly, I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. I just wanted him out of my life. The weirdest part is, I think he thought the flat tires were some kind of message. Like he wanted to show me that he could control me even after I said no. It was scary knowing how much he was willing to do just because. I didn't want to be with him anymore. The whole thing left me feeling kind of broken for a while. I didn't want to trust anyone for a long time after. Every time I heard a strange noise outside, or saw a shadow move, my heart would race. But I guess that's the thing with people like Spencer. They start small, all innocent smiles and awkward jokes. Then they slowly turn into something else, someone obsessed, someone dangerous. I still think about that day when I found my tires flat. It wasn't just about the car or the event I missed. It was about how far someone could go when they wanted to have power over you. Sometimes I wonder if he thinks it worked. If he thinks I'm scared or broken. But I'm not. I just won't forget. You never expect your life to turn into some creepy horror story, especially when you're just trying to date someone and have a normal life. But that's exactly what happened to me with Ellie. At first, she seemed pretty normal, kind of mysterious, but in a cool way. She was fun to hang out with, always smiling, and I was actually excited to have someone new around. But things got weird real quick, and not the normal awkward date kind of weird. I'm talking about stuff that made me question whether I was losing my mind, or if something darker was actually happening in my apartment. It started a few weeks into dating. We'd been hanging out mostly at my place because I live in a tiny studio that's easy to keep clean and kind of cozy for just the two of us. One night after she left, I noticed something odd. There was this strange symbol scratched into the hardwood floor by the door. It wasn't there before, and it looked like some kind of weird triangle with lines and dots inside. I had no idea what it meant, but it didn't look like anything normal, like art or a mark someone would leave by accident. I thought maybe she had dropped something or a friend had come over, but it felt off. I asked her about it the next time we saw each other, but she just smiled and changed the subject. That should have been my first red flag. Instead, I brushed it off because I didn't want to be paranoid or that awkward guy who freaks out over nothing. The next few days were even stranger. I started waking up in the middle of the night feeling like something was watching me. I'd get this heavy pressure on my chest, like I couldn't breathe right, but when I looked around, nothing was there. My phone kept glitching too, turning off and on randomly, apps crashing without reason. I blamed it on old tech or a bad update, but then, I found more symbols carved into the walls, drawn in black ink on pieces of paper taped to the windows. Sometimes, the ink looked fresh, like it was just done. The shapes weren't just symbols anymore. Some looked like weird demonic faces or twisted shapes that made my skin crawl. I swear I even saw one of those faces in the corner of my vision. Once, like it was watching me, but disappeared when I turned my head. I didn't want to admit it, but I was scared. I thought maybe I was losing it, or maybe it was a prank. I checked with friends, but no one had been over, and nobody knew anything about those symbols. The creepier part was that Ellie always seemed calm whenever I mentioned any of it. She never acted concerned or surprised, just kind of amused. It felt like she knew exactly what was going on but wasn't telling me. One night, I found a circle drawn in black chalk right in the middle of my living room floor. It wasn't just a doodle, it looked like a ritual setup, with candles around it and strange objects inside. Small bones, burnt paper, some kind of powder. It was disgusting and terrifying at the same time. I wanted to get rid of it, but before I could, Ellie walked in. She looked at it and said something that made my blood run cold. I won't repeat what she said, but it was clear she was proud of it, like she was doing something powerful. I started watching her more closely. She always had weird books with her when she came over, thick dusty things with titles about spirits, demons, and old magic. She'd whisper sometimes, especially at night when she thought I was asleep. I caught her drawing those symbols on my furniture, and once I saw her burning something in a small bowl like an offering. The worst part was that I felt like I couldn't leave. Every time I tried to bring up breaking things off, she'd smile. That same unsettling smile, and say she cared about me, that she was doing this to protect me. But I could feel the darkness creeping into everything around me. I started having nightmares where those symbols would glow red, and those twisted faces would come alive and reach for me. One evening, after she left my place, I went to the bathroom and noticed the mirror was fogged up, but when I wiped it, the writing was there. It said my name over and over, with strange marks around it like some kind of binding spell. I wiped it off, but it kept coming back. I didn't know what to do. I even tried cleaning everything, repainting walls, scrubbing floors, but the symbols would reappear or show up somewhere else. I got so desperate that I started researching on my own. I learned about black magic and curses, and the things people do when they want to control or hurt someone spiritually. I realized Ellie wasn't just messing around, she was trying to trap me, to own me in a way that wasn't just emotional, but something much darker. I even thought about calling someone who knew about this stuff, but I felt trapped by fear and shame. It was embarrassing to admit I was living through something so bizarre. One day, I found a small doll in my apartment. It looked like a human figure but made of twigs, and wrapped with red thread. It had pins stuck in its body, and was sitting on my kitchen counter. I was sure Ellie had put it there. It felt like a warning or a threat. I decided then I had to get out. I packed my things as fast as I could, and stayed at a friend's place for a few nights. Ellie texted nonstop, begging me to come back, saying she was sorry, that she wanted to fix things. I blocked her, I changed my locks. But the weird things didn't stop immediately. I kept seeing shadows moving in my apartment when I went back to grab stuff, and those symbols remained stubborn and ugly. Eventually, I had to get a priest to come and bless the place. I didn't believe in all that stuff before, but after what I went through, I just wanted it gone. The priest said some of the markings were serious, old magic that wasn't just superstition. He told me to be careful, that people like Ellie can be dangerous in ways you don't expect. I never heard from Ellie again, and I don't want to. The whole thing still freaks me out, especially when I'm alone and the lights flicker or I catch a glimpse of something moving. It's like she left a part of herself behind, a shadow that I can't shake, no matter how far I run. Looking back, I don't think I ever really knew who she was. The girl I thought I was dating was just a mask for something much darker. I guess some people carry more than just secrets with them, they carry darkness that can spill into your life without warning. I'm still trying to make sense of it. But I know one thing for sure. Some relationships aren't just bad luck or heartbreak. There's something you survive. Like escaping from a place that tries to pull you under. And honestly, I'm just glad I got out.